Yep.
Matt, has there been an emphasis this week on just getting Dakota to feel a little more comfortable in that pocket?
Yeah, I mean there is every week. I thought, um, one of his strengths is making plays with his feet, and he did that. There was times that he probably could have stayed in there, but not a ton. I mean, I thought he did a pretty good job as far as making decisions, when to run the ball and when to throw it. And but yeah, we always work on that.
What has been maybe the focus headed into Colorado?
Well, being more consistent. Obviously, penalties has been an issue, and we've been addressing that. Um, and anytime you play someone that's a little bit different, it's finding out what you do well. And if you didn't do something well last week, getting that corrected. But basically, taking care of discipline stuff. Stuff that we can control. Some of the penalties were technique things where we didn't use the proper technique, and so just going back to redoing our fundamentals.
What have you guys done to fix the discipline issues?
Well, fundamentals is one thing. The holding calls, that's having the proper leverage, having your hands inside, running your feet. So you can coach that through drills. The personal fouls, that's an in-house deal, but it's getting addressed.
Loss of Crosby, how does that impact the way you shuffle guys along the offensive line?
It's just the next guy up. I've been very happy. I know we're playing a lot of young guys there, but against Nebraska, after watching the game, they didn't play like young guys. And so we feel like we have a lot of depth there, and I'm really proud of the way those guys are playing.
Talking with Darren Carrington and Dwayne Stanford, they said they maybe weren't expecting Dakota to run the ball as much as he did against Nebraska, but you're saying you think that his division of handing off, running it himself, and passing was okay?
Well, it's a combination. I mean, I thought he ran the ball really well, and that's a strength of his. And if based on his strengths and what the defense gives us, that's something that we could always have. It's kind of a week-to-week thing, but he does have the ability to run it, which is good for our offense.
Last year, Darren was kind of that deep threat guy for Vernon Adams. Talking with Darren after the game on Saturday, he said he's still trying to work on that chemistry with Dakota, a few overthrows there. Who are some of those receivers that you feel like Dakota's really developed good chemistry with so far?
Well, I'm happy with all the guys that are playing. Darren, who you just mentioned, Jalen Brown is going to continue to get more and more time, and then Dwayne Stanford. He wasn't healthy early on in fall camp. He's finally healthy. Dylan Mitchell, we got to get him into the swing of things, and then Charles. So I think a combination of those 4 or 5 guys, they can all make plays. And when we call a play, we feel confident in either one of those guys going up and getting the ball.
So you anticipate Dylan Mitchell playing this week then?
I do.
How do they develop that chemistry between the quarterback and receiver?
Just through practice. The more reps you get, the better you get at it. And one of the things I think that helps us is we try to get a lot of reps into practice, and so that's where that develops. And I thought our guys did a good job in the summertime of getting out there on their own and just playing catch.
So Vernon Adams and Darren Carrington really had that good chemistry, as was mentioned. So have you seen them working together specifically to try to build that same chemistry, Dakota Pukop and Darren Carrington?
Yeah, I have. I've seen him work with all our guys, but in the summer, yeah, we had the advantage of having him all summer as opposed to Vernon, and so but Vernon kind of made his up in the run, and it was in the second game against Virginia. You could see that he can throw the ball well down the field. It was one of those things too when you're running the ball really well, and that helps out our defense. It's going to change week to week. Sometimes we might throw for a lot of yards, sometimes we might run it. The biggest thing is how do we win the football game, and our guys understand that, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Are you game planning that you're going to have Royce at running back this weekend?
Yeah. I feel really good about the running backs that played in that game. I thought every one of those guys came in and ran really hard and did really well. And so, yeah, Royce is a great player. We'd love to have him, but if he cannot play, we feel pretty confident in the guys that are playing.
Right now, is he in the game plan, though?
Yes, he is.
Is Alex Opadile, is that a guy who could also come in and take some time with Devin out?
Yep, he's another guy that's fighting for playing time. And so we'll see what happens. We'll kind of see how the game goes.
Just losing Devin, is that taking some plays out of the playbook just because of kind of the special talents he brought, or do you have guys that you think can?
No. I mean, Devin's a special player and more importantly, a special person. Losing him hurts just to have because it's such a good person to have on your football team, and more from a camaraderie and a leadership thing. But he's still leading us even though he's not on the field, and inspiring myself and the rest of our guys. But yeah, our playbook's not changing.
Talking with Dwayne Stanford yesterday, with Devin going down, he was mentioning some of the young guys to stand up, but he also said he wants to be the new playmaker with Devin out there. Obviously, he mentioned he was injured a little bit for the beginning of fall seen him try to, excel at all, especially this week in practice?
Yeah, Dwayne always works hard, and I think all those guys have the mindset that they want to be the playmaker. And sometimes it depends on the game, depends on the coverage, depends on who's open. But I think each game it's kind of been a different guy. And I think it's going to continue to be that way.
What did you see out of Colorado on film a couple days in?
I think they're really good. I think their statistics speak for themselves. They've played good in all 3 games. I think they're, if not the top, one of the tops in third down defense, and they're playing at a high level. They're playing at a high level. It's a big challenge for us.
You see a talent increase from what Colorado was like a couple years ago?
They got a lot of guys that came back, but they're better. They're more experienced, and they've done a great job recruiting and building that program. And this might be the most improved football team that maybe in the country. So we know we got our work cut out for us, and we're excited to play them.
Coach, what conversations have you had with Cam Hunt about some of his penalties and his overall performance?
Well, we've had a lot. So that's kind of in-house. And at the end of the day, we're not going to tolerate it. And whether it's Cameron Hunt or anybody, what happened to him is he got pulled out of the game, and that's what we're going to do. And we call those selfish penalties because they affect the whole team. And when you do something like that, it's not just affecting you, it's affecting everyone around you, and it's not going to be tolerated. And we did something in-house, not just for him, but for a couple of guys to make sure that they understand the consequences and the severity of how big a deal that was.
You guys are only 3 weeks in, or 3 games in, but I mean, how would you rate Dakota's performance so far? Is he at where you think he'd be after 3 games?
Yeah, I'm very proud of him. I love the way he competes. I love the way he drives our tempo. And I love his attitude of practice. That's something that I don't think that you can't see because you don't see our practices, but he does such a great job in practice of pushing our tempo and just leading by example. And he's making good decisions. He hasn't turned the ball over this year. That's a big deal from a quarterback standpoint, and that gives us a chance. Is there things he can do better? Yeah, but there's things that everyone can do better.
What are some things that he can do better?
I think it's there's a couple throws I know he'd like to have back. And a lot of that's just technique and footwork. He made some big-time throws. Made some really, really good throws that kept drives alive on 3rd and 4th down on tight coverage, and so it's just being a little more consistent. But that's every position.
Coach, when we talked to you after the game on Saturday and talking about Devin, I could sense a little emotion in your voice there. A guy that you've worked with from the start, does all injuries suck, but did that one kind of hit you because you've seen what this guy's
Yeah, just because he's such a special person. After the game when I was talking to him, this type of person he is, he was more worried about the team than himself and about me. So, he's one of those guys that you love being around, and he inspires me every day. He's a guy that's why you coach, to be around guys like that. And, I wish I was half as tough as that guy mentally, because it's unbelievable. And when you see a guy like that, it was emotional. It was very emotional because if I can be half the guy he is, I'm a decent guy.
You guys had that discussion about what his future is, because everyone was wondering football or track before the season started, and now with the injury.
No, we haven't. But I know this: whatever he decides to do, he's going to kill it and be successful. I expect him to go to the Olympics and win a gold. I hope he still plays football, but he'll do what's best for him. And what he's done for this team off the field and how he's handled this, I mean, he's made me a better person, and he's made all our players better people.
What kind of things do you want to see out of the tempo on Saturday on the offensive side?
Just always try to play faster. We're going to try to do that every game. Part of that is executing, because you can't have tempo unless you're getting first downs. So we've got to execute, and part of execution that you guys brought up is not beating ourselves. Controlling what we control, which are penalties. And so that's a big focal point, and if we can get that going, all that stuff plays together with the tempo.
When the tempo isn't very fast, what kind of things are you pointing at to the reason that's happening?
Executing. So if we have a penalty or a negative play, so that can slow you down. And then getting first downs. It's pretty simple. If you're getting first downs, you can get rolling. And so we got to execute on 3rd down, which will be a big challenge this week because these guys are pretty darn good on 3rd down, and not beat ourselves.
Some of that on Dakota, getting to the line and trying to read some of the defense before just snapping the ball?
I think he's done a good job driving our tempo and enhancing it. There were maybe 1 or 2 times where he might have overthought himself in a protection, but that's corrected. And as coaches, we can do a better job, myself in particular, of simplifying things for him. That's for us to help our players play fast and have tempo, it starts with the coaching. We got to make sure that they understand what they're doing and coach it in a way so they can make fast decisions and play fast. And so, and then when you lose a game, that's the first guy as you look at yourself. How could I have, if he was confused on something, how could I have made that an easier situation? How could I have taught it better? And so, and that's always going to be the case. Always looking first at how I can get better to make him better.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
Coach.
No problem.